Welcome, children of God, loved and saved by Jesus. This is Pastor Paul Steinberg, and you have found the Christ for Disciplers podcast, a ministry of A City for God, sometimes called Chaplains in Schools. Do you want to see who we are? Go to acityforgod.org, where we disciple children around our city, about 5,000 kids every day, and we also help disciple staff and parents so they can better disciple their children. This week we're looking at the account of Jesus heals a blind man from Mark chapter 10. Let me start by asking you, when have you stopped and helped someone? Especially somebody that you don't know, right? That you just see somebody in need and do they need some help? Do you stop and go out every way to help them? And what's the thought process that goes through your head? I don't know if you're like me, but where I see something and I think I'm just ignoring that. And then I might come around and go, yeah, maybe I should do something. Right? I have this struggle. Should I help? Am I the right person to help? When have you done that? I'll give you a couple stories. I remember when I like to go for a 4-mile walk around my city. Right now the weather's too cold for me to do that, but I was walking on a nice day. You know, I'm wearing shorts and a t-shirt, and I'm going on my walk. And it's early in the morning. It's like at 6. There aren't a lot of people out, just some dog walkers, some runners, and a few people. And all of a sudden I notice coming towards me across the street on this, I mean, it's a pretty main road, North Avenue. There was a guy that wasn't wearing any clothes at all. I mean, he was walking. He had his hand in front of him trying to kind of cover up a little bit. And he wasn't running. I mean, he wasn't just standing there, but he was kind of walking slow. And I mean, that was shocking. And obviously he needed some help, right? I see him there and I think to myself, well, he's on the other side of the road. I'm sure he's trying to get away or whatever. And who knows? Is he crazy? Is he violent? What's going on? And I kind of dialogued with myself, and eventually I got past, and I said, I got to help that guy. I actually have the time. I can help him. And I came up with the idea I could take my shirt off and give him the shirt off my back, right? I mean, I didn't have any money with me. I don't carry money when I walk, but I could at least give him my shirt, at least give him the house, and then I could walk the 1.5 miles back without a shirt, even though as a 50-year-old guy it would have been embarrassing. And I went and turned around, and then I couldn't find him anymore. But I know I missed an opportunity. I mean, Jesus actually very literally said, "When have you found me naked?" Right? And given me something to wear. And I had that opportunity and I missed it. Why? Because I just didn't want to do it. Didn't want to help out. Missed out on it. And who knows what would have happened. I pray that somebody else helped them and it all worked out. Just yesterday, I was enjoying a Bucks game, and some people came trying to find their seats. And my wife had gone to get something, and they didn't understand how the seat thing worked. It was rail seats, and so no, not our seats. And I showed them where they were, but there were people sitting in their spots, and they're like, "Oh!" And so they went and sat down in a row in front of them, not on their really nice seats that they had purchased, but they didn't know what the RL that it stood for rail seats. And I'm like, so I got up and went over there. I said, I want to let them know. I said, I can help you get an usher if you really want your seats. These people whoever's sitting there either are mistaken about their seat numbers or whatever, but the usher will move them out, no problem, because these seats are really, really nice. I went out of my way to try to help them, and I'm glad I did that. They decided they didn't want any help, and they never lost the seats that they were sitting in. And eventually those people left anyway. They were just, I don't think they really knew they were taking somebody else's seat. But I offered to help, and I wonder, why it was so much easier in that setting than when maybe I was going to feel uncomfortable. Somebody really in need, But I think the key is you have to have the time and the situation that you can actually help. For Jesus and his disciples, they saw someone to help, and Jesus was ready to help. Too often, people don't help. Maybe you can find those videos on YouTube where they will get people that they set up. It's like it's a test, psychological, and they have people who need help, and nobody helps them. Nobody helps them. And it's kind of, why are all these people in this business and no one's helping them? And then a different person who's maybe a different race or wearing something different, they help them right away. So if it's a young lady, she's nicely dressed, wearing red, everybody helps her. But if it's an old Hispanic guy, That's not so many people help, especially if it's a little bit smelly or whatever it might be. And Jesus tells us, he calls us to be helpful, but when and how do we help? I think that's a dialogue we need to have with our kids, because you can't help everybody, but you can help those in your vicinity, the people that you actually have the gift to help for, that you find a way to be an assistant. Here, verse 49 of Mark chapter 10. And Jesus stopped and said, "Call him." And they called the blind man, saying to him, "Take heart, get up, he's calling you." Jesus was busy, and he didn't stop for everybody. He helped a lot of people. In some spots it says he healed everybody, but he was moving, right? He was moving here, but here he decided it was time to stop. This was the guy he was going to help. He stopped and he called him. You and I need to stop. First of all, if we're so busy that we don't have time to help somebody else, we're probably too busy. We need some margin in our life, some space. We need to give up something so that we have some time and effort and energy to help other people. We're so busy often we don't have time to help our family members. We got to find that. As Americans, that's our problem. We don't always have major for that. So it's not that we're necessarily lazy, but we just think, I'm too busy. I got to do this. I got to do this. I got to do that. But you got to do it. You need to have some space. And then when people are there, those are the people that you help. So if you're walking and someone falls down right next to you, those are the people that you help. Not that you have to run to a different city to do it. For my wife and I, it's a couple months ago, before it got too cold, we were driving and there was a guy that was just covered up by a blanket in our alley. Well, that's dangerous. People go driving in our alley and we're like, it looks like he's just a blanket. He could get run over. So we went over to let him know that he could get run over, and then we brought him an extra blanket and a little bit of breakfast, right? He was in our vicinity, and I think more importantly, we brought conversation. He was in our alley. Who's going to help him? Someone in our alley. Is there a parent you know? Is there a staff member? Is there a friend, a relative that you know where they're in need, and maybe you know that, but you need to stop and have that conversation. Like, is there some way I could help you? Can I do this for you? Is there a way that you could help them to stop and take the time and get to know and figure out the best way to do it? I did it for a short while. I'm not currently doing it now. I just don't have as many people I come into contact with. But I used to budget a certain percentage for giving to church, and I used to have a certain part of my family budget for giving to the needy. And that could be a good practice too. So you know how much you have budgeted to give away, and you've set it aside in your heart. And if you don't spend it that month, you save it for the next month. That could be a way that you could go. You could show your kids, hey, every month we take $100, and we're going to use this on the needy. We're going to help people with it. And you just keep it in a savings account or a Cash App account, and you save it up, and maybe you don't come across anybody for 8 months, but then you come across a couple people. Have that conversation. Jesus called Bartimaeus because he wanted to help him. We are just like Bartimaeus. We are in need, and Jesus calls us by name. He calls us by name in our baptism. He calls us by name to come to the Lord's Supper. He calls us by name in the absolution. And with all three of those, he calls us and tells us we're children of God. That's how we know that we have, as God's children, the ability to help others with the grace and resources he's given us. Train your kids in that. Thanks for taking 600 seconds so Christ doesn't take second in your life or in the life of your kids. Receive a blessing from our God, the power to put him first. The Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord make his face shine on you and be gracious to you. The Lord look on you with favor and give you his peace. Amen.